Greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome back into another One Piece post-game video. Just in case this is your first time tuning into one of these videos, how it works is that I like to go through the full spoiler video, the video I posted 2 days ago, and just read through the comments to see what everybody's talking about coming off of this latest chapter. The theories, the opinions, the jokes, the observations, we are here for all of it, brother. So, with that being said, let's get right into it. Here we go. First comment is, of course, from me because I sourced out the spoilers. Shoutouts to them. Next comment we got, thinking about it now, Loki, saying he wants to destroy the world. Could just be him setting his eyes on Emu for the kill. Exactly. Right when we heard that Roxy Zebek said he was going after the world, it's like, okay, Loki is definitely going to take over Roxy's dream, or at least his will. And of course, with how many times Loki has been effed up by the world government, it just makes sense. The world government killed his idol Rox, and now they've seemingly killed his dad. And now they want to take over his country. Yeah, I would not be shocked if Loki, after Elbaf, assists the Straw Hats when it comes to taking down the world government. I guess the main question now is just whether or not he'd become a Nakama, like an actual honorary member of the Straw Hat Pirates, or if Loki's simply going to go his own way and have his own adventures. I could see the latter more than the previous option, just because I feel like he's going to go after Mosa first, and depending on who that is, whether it's Shirahoshi or a brand new character, I feel like that will set him apart from the Straw Hats for at least a little bit. Kind of like Yamato, right? We know Yamato's going to come back into the story, but Oda's like putting a buffer in there, like, oh, you're gonna get more Yamato, but just wait a couple of arcs. I feel like Loki here might be that exact same case. Like maybe after this we go to Lodestar, Laugh Tale, or just some other island in general, and then by the time we go to Marie Joie and we're ready to kick Emu's ass, boom! Loki shows up with the Galera and Mosa. Buggy was legit the only Roger pirate to put in work in the field to save his little brother Ace. Sad emoji. Yes and no. Buggy did put in the most work between him and Shanks when it came to saving Ace. You could even argue that out of all the Roger Pirates, Buggy did put in the most work, but hear me out. Buggy, at almost no point in time, said, oh, Ace? Roger's son? Let's save him, guys. He never had Ace in his sights whatsoever. He really just cared about getting out of Impel Down, 1, and then 2, he wanted to boost up his reputation. He never really mentioned saving Ace specifically, even after we got the whole reveal that Ace was Roger's son and Buggy learned it for the first time. He didn't really care. You know, Buggy didn't exactly have the same sentiment as Shanks here, or Gaban even, which is kind of sad. Maybe if we ever get like another Buggy Ace flashback, Buggy will look back at it and say, oh man, I wish I did a little bit more for that guy. I really liked him. Which is the most Buggy's ever done, right? He said he really enjoyed Ace's company, but besides that, he never really swang out for him exuberantly. Thank you so much, Sai. I needed this while I'm in the hospital. Brother, first up, I hope you're taking care of yourself. I hope you're getting better. I hope you're out of the hospital even. Second up, thank you for watching the video. You know, like I said, I make these videos to be people's background noise, to make people just a little bit happier. So to see that I actually did that, I love it. You know, thank you so much. Thank you. Damn, we got Barbell on the color spread before GTA 6. Yeah, we did. You're goddamn right we did. Oh, man. The official Barbell colors, huh? Pink skin, yellow hair. The GOAT. Will he ever come back into the story, though, before GTA 6? That's the bigger question. Honestly, I think so. You know, hey, maybe we see Barbell after Loki leaves Elbaf while he's fleeing from Shanks and Gaban or whoever else is chasing him. Maybe on his adventures, he goes and looks for the Rock's pirate remnants, and he stumbles upon old Barbell. Loki took all the heat to protect Elbaf. Yep, I would even say that it's not even necessarily to protect Elbaf, but it's to protect his father's legacy. Because protecting Elbaf, he could have done that while staying here and telling them the truth. I mean, that's what his father wanted, right? He said, hey, secure Elbaf's future, tell them about this nasty deal, do it, Loki. I want you to take the throne. That is how he would have served Elbaf best. But unlike his father, Loki didn't really care about that. He cared about how his father was going to be talked about after his death, so that is why he took the heat. And hey, whether it's this option, whether it's the King Harald option, I just have major respects for Loki, man. That is insane. Barbell just hopped into the ocean where God Valley disappeared and peaced out. Hey, if he did do that, jokes aside, people meme on Barbell left and right, but here's the thing. If Barbell actually did go into one of those holes, like Enis Lobby, Lelucia, God Valley, then he could genuinely tell us what's down there, because that is a big mystery, right? What is at the bottom of those holes? Why are those holes not being filled? Barbell could legitimately have the answer. Or Jimbei, right? We do have Jimbei on the crew, so if the Straw Hats ever run by Lelucia, maybe they look at Jimbei and they're like, hey, fishman, it's time to fulfill your role on the crew. Is that racist? I don't know. I mean, it's just good management, right? You have a fisherman, you have a hole in the water, you send the fisherman. Makes sense, yeah, makes sense. Let's effing go! Barbell appears, dude. It's so funny. The amount of messages I got online saying, Sai, Barbell's here! It's crazy. I love how I am associated with Barbell, Gecko Moria, and Bellamy. I think those are my 3 shadow picks that whenever somebody hears those names, those very obscure characters, they're like, Sai, you're gonna love this. Either them or Perona. Perona's the waifu pick. This says, now, I gotta see a double page spread of Gaban and Rayleigh crying and hugging their son Buggy, since they haven't seen him in so long, and he became an emperor all by himself. Now that I think about it, Cross Guild, I kind of want them to come to Elbaf. Maybe not right now, because I feel like bringing Cross Guild into the Emu situation would just be too much right away. But maybe after Elbaf, after the Straw Hats leave, Cross Guild shows up, and we just get a whole interaction between Buggy and Gaban. I mean, hell, even when Buggy talked about Rayleigh back during Impel Down and Marineford, he was really happy. He was like, wait, you met Old Man Ray? It's like, oh, dude, I want to see Buggy's interactions with the goats. Oda has some big plans for him. I just feel it in my bones, brother. Ragnir has a devil fruit, and I'd be shocked, like Hassan's dog, if I am wrong. Dude, that's hilarious. So Ragnir having a devil fruit. That has to be the case, right? I mean, go to the end of the chapter. It's Ragnir that is making that cackling, laughing sound. And here's the thing. People are saying that the gee, gya, 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 gyat, 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 they're saying that that is simply a sound effect. Brother, when have we ever seen a sound effect get a speech bubble, not a sound effect? The hammer or somebody in the background, in the shadows, they are laughing or cackling. And yes, I do think that Ragnir has a Zoan devil fruit. It's just a big question of, is it another Zoan devil fruit, or is it the Elbaf legendary devil fruit? That is kind of where I'm hung up at right now. And here's the thing. I would like it if Ragnir and the Elbaf devil fruit were 2 separate things. I want Loki to have a mythological Zoan devil fruit and the hammer have a mythological Zoan devil fruit. That would just be absolutely busted. An insane combo. But does that actually sound plausible? Like, oh yeah, the devil fruit has a Zoan fruit. And by the way, the Elbaf devil fruit's also here. Would Oda really put 2 devil fruits in a single room? I'm not too sure. I think that's why I do lean towards Ragnir just having the Elbaf fruit, but I'd be happy to be wrong. I don't exactly have an agenda. I just have a feeling that one is more likely than the other, but I'm open to both ideas, brother. That is just how I am. This says, I don't know how much this matters, but a cool point I noticed was Harald didn't need to get Domi reversed because he's a holy knight, so Emu already had access to him. Oh yeah. It's very much like the Gunko and Saturn situation, where Emu could simply take over Harald if he really wanted to, I bet. Like, if Emu senses that something is going wrong or Harald's about to lose, I wouldn't be shocked if Harald's head starts turning all black and the eyes turn into Emu's eyes. I'm sure he could just tap in like this. And yes, I like that he did not get Domi reversied. And actually, while we're on this topic, this kind of reminds me of the Gunko situation, where she remembers Brooke, she's running after Brooke, and then all of a sudden, she loses her mind and then she turns into Emu. Of course, I think there's something more going on there in general, but that could have been Emu mind controlling her in the beginning. Like, oh, her memories are coming back. I did an order for that to happen. Boom, mind control, and then possession. I would be interested to see if there are some God Knights who don't want to be God Knights or don't want to do certain God Knight activities, like maybe slavery or God Valley hunting games, but because they're contracted by Emu, they don't have a choice but to obey. Like, imagine Emu's like, hey, Saint Sommers, you are killing that father and son. I know they're defenseless, but you're doing it. Sommers wouldn't be able to say no in that situation. So it kind of makes you wonder, will we ever see a God Knight actively not want to serve Emu? Because so far, I think they all do, right? Shamrock, it's in his nature. Gunko, it kind of seems like it's in her nature, but it also seems like she's being brainwashed. Sommers loves it. You know, Maffey loves it. Killingham loves it. Will there be one odd God Knight who doesn't really fit in with the pact? I wonder. This says, so the fact that Harald said to Loki to kill him using the legendary devil fruit of Elbaf pretty much confirms that it is not the sun god Nika fruit, because Loki needs to awaken the fruit to at least compete against Harald. Since Loki killed Harald, I think it's a different fruit, which counters immortality. Yeah, it also makes you wonder too, like if Luffy knew from the very start of the series that he had a Zoan Sun God Nika Devil Fruit and not the Gumu Gumu no Mi, would he have been able to awaken the fruit sooner? Would his utilization of the fruit change? Because that could be another key factor, right? Luffy was under the pretense that he was simply a rubber guy for 1,000+ chapters, so he only used rubber-based abilities. If you knew you were Sun God Nika from day one, I'd like to imagine that your moveset would be completely different. Maybe you're able to tap into your Zoan side a little bit more. Maybe you'll whip out some new abilities even. Kind of makes you wonder. But yeah, as far as like the whole Sun God Nika thing, I don't know. I do think that the Sun God Nika Elbaf Devil Fruit takes a hit here, but I wouldn't count it out 100% yet. But I would like it to be something different at this point. This says, I think Ragnar's Devil Fruit is separate from the Legendary Devil Fruit of Elbaf. Ragnir is merely the protector of the Legendary Devil Fruit, and Loki will become the Chosen One, who soon wields Ragnir as a worthy owner. Ragnir could have been a mythological Zoan Raiju fruit, hence the lightning that would fit the Zoan moving on its own. Ragnir in its full beast Raiju form could be why the claw marks were in the Elbaf castle. That's where the duel took place in which Loki won. As far as the legendary fruit, I'm going with the Hito Hito no Mi model Ymir. Ymir is the origin of the giants, yes, Attack on Titan reference, and it fits the accursed title because Ymir is chaos incarnate, capable of creation and destruction. When awakened, Elbaf itself will respond to Loki. This means giants will feel compelled to kneel or resist with all their will. Loki calls himself the sun god because he claims to be the source and the ruler of Elbaf's future, not its savior, a son that demands obedience rather than freedom. Loki, wielding Elbaf's legendary devil fruit while commanding a Thor-infused weapon, makes him feel unstoppable, like a god walking towards the end of the world. I like this. As far as Ymir goes, I've heard this one before, and I do enjoy it a lot. I like anything that is Norse or connected to mythology in general, but because it's One Piece, I wouldn't be shocked if Oda puts like an inverse twist on it, like it is, you know, based off of Ymir, for example, but he ends up naming it something different to fit in with One Piece lore. I wouldn't be shocked if that's the case, kind of like how if Nika is one of the two devil fruits that Roxy Zebek needed, and that's like an inverse thing, maybe the Elbaf devil fruit will be another inverse created mythology. I would not mind that whatsoever. And as far as like Ragnir, yeah, I like the Raiju route. I mean, we do have to explain the claw marks in the throne room somehow, some way. So it's either that Scopper and Shanks whip out claw attacks, maybe Harald whips out a claw attack, or that is simply Loki and Ragnir coming into play. He did summon Hiradin as well. He may have wanted both to rule, but only chose Loki because he's the only one who showed up. That is true. And this comment stems from me talking about why doesn't Harald mention Hiradin at all? And yeah, it's because Hiradin didn't show up. But if Hiradin were here, would he want them both to rule? Would he give it to Hiradin over Loki? Or would he still pick just Loki? I think that's kind of what I'm curious about. And I hope that next chapter he mentions Hiradin at least once. Like maybe while he's dying. He's like, ah, Loki, I love you, son. Hiradin, wherever you are. Love to you too, I think. And then maybe he'll even think about Roxy Zebek, which I think would be pretty cool. I would just love if we got like a little walkthrough of Harald's life at the end. Kind of like what we got with Kuma, where we saw Kuma running throughout all of his life, and then, you know, we see him age up, and then he dies. Maybe we get the same thing with Harald, except with Estrid, Ida, Hired, and Loki. And Rox, of course, Rox. He's like a main character here, essentially. This says, Barbell at 1 minute again. Hey, we can't avoid it, dude. Barbell is canon. He's in this story. We gotta talk about him. People were saying that for Gekko Mori a while back. I was like, oh, dude, Kozuki Mori, he's gonna show back up, And people are like, Sai, stop talking about Moria. And I'm like, bro, he's in the story, dude. How do I not talk about this man? Barbell's the same way. But with Barbell, there's a lot more mystery around him because we don't know if he'll ever show back up, right? That's like a wish on a star. How, though, we've gotten more Barbell than Bogard? It's pretty funny. Heimdall in that room protecting the treasure. Yeah, I did like the route that there's somebody in the shadows, you know, protecting the treasure at first. But now that we have the chapter in front of us and now that we see the images, we see that the hammer is standing by itself. And then the minute Loki walks through the doors, the hammer starts shuffling and then it flies up. It doesn't look like somebody picks it up and throws it. The hammer itself seems sentient. This says, in my opinion, clearly, Shanks told them he was going to go gather intel. I don't see how that doesn't make sense for people. The crew could have just been chilling, like we see them doing most of the time. Once again, fits their MO as we know the crew so far. I don't think it's a mystery on what the red hair pirates were doing while Shanks was gathering intel. I don't think it's like a big mystery. It's just curiosity, right? Like, if Luffy went to go gather intel, yeah, I'd be wondering what the rest of the Straw Hats are doing. It's kind of like the whole thing with Whole Cake Island, right? Like, oh, Luffy's at Whole Cake. Yeah, I'm curious to see what Zoro's doing. I'm curious about Frankie and what he's up to. I think that's mainly what it's all about. I don't think it's the whole thing where, like, people don't think it makes sense. It's more so just like, oh, what are they up to? You know, are they off training? Are they hanging out at a bar? Because when it comes to Shanks being a Knight of God, it's not like he can just revisit the lower world willy-nilly, right? He's up there. He's playing a God Knight role. So I'm assuming the time jump is pretty significant. Like, it's probably a whole year, unless he constantly goes down to the underworld to perform God Knight tasks. But even then, I'm assuming he's rolling with Cypherpole or rolling with other Celestial Dragons or God Knights. So this would be a prolonged period of time where he just doesn't see his crew. So I don't think it needs to be explained per se, but I think the curiosity is pretty valid. So this one says, then we're gonna spread eagle and get out of here. Yeah, brother, that's not what they say. Yeah, I said it. It came out of my mouth. And then I was like, you know what? Something's not right about that line. I feel like I'm messing that up somewhere. Ragnir, probably a gift homie from Big Mom from when she wanted to marry Loki to Lola. If Ragnir ate the Elbaph Fruit, then why is Loki in Seastone chains? It doesn't make sense. First up, Seastone is nigh unbreakable. We have not seen a character in the series explicitly break Seastone. People go back to Rayleigh and Luffy like, oh, they used Ryuo, but the chains they broke were not Seastone. Rayleigh breaking the chain at the auction house, that wasn't Seastone. It was simply a detonation collar. And then when it comes to Luffy in Wano, he never broke his collar either. Even though he had Ryuo, he needed Caribou to gather the keys. Seastone is straight up one of the toughest substances in the world. So if you're chaining somebody up, you do want to use Seastone chains, especially somebody as strong as Loki. The only case we've had where Seastone has been broken was with Law, and that one was explicit. But Law uses Devil Fruit, which is able to cut through things without like actually cutting them per se. Or he really just kind of like shifted where they're at. So yeah, I think the Seastone does make sense if he didn't have a fruit. As far as the gift homie route, I do like this though. The whole thing with Big Mom potentially giving this as a gift or, you know, making Ragnir a legendary hammer stronger, it makes sense. And hell, even going back before Big Mom, Mother Carmel also lived in Elbaf and she had the Soul no Mi. So maybe she's the one who did it. Like, hey, I like that hammer. What? It's a national treasure? Let me put a homie in there to make it a little bit stronger. I think there's a lot of ways to make the Ragnir homie theory actually work. This says, bro sneaks in Barbell in every single video. I didn't sneak it in! Hey, he's in the chapter, brother! He's in the chapter! What can I say? Navy Loki was on his way to avenge Harald and Zebek. He was planning on confronting Emu, but Shanks stopped him and brought him back. I like that. And it could just be because Shanks knows that Loki isn't ready. You know, he sees Loki going up there. He's like, whoa, whoa, whoa. If you can't beat me, you can't beat Emu. You can't beat Shamrock or Garling or anybody else up there. Loki, hold your horses, man. And of course, Loki does have a special bounty on him right now. So maybe that's why Shanks stopped him, right? It's like, oh, he has the legendary Devil Fruit of Elbaf. He has Ragnir. If they're one and the same, that's besides the point. But Loki is special. And plus, he is the heir to the throne as well. And we saw that Shamrock, when he came down here, he said, hey, Loki, join us so that you can rule Elbaf under your iron fist. There's a lot of reasons why the WG would want Loki on their side. So Shanks stopping him, I do think is good in the end, even though Loki hates it, right? This says, yes, Sai's barbell thirst was temporarily quenched with that color spread. Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was. Harald was kind of not there, so it makes sense why he wasn't mentioned. True, I just kind of wish that Harald got a mention at all. Like, hey, you know, Loki, reach out to your brother. Hey, tell Harald my final moments too. It's just the fact that he never got name dropped at least once, even though he's not there. It's kind of crazy, right? Like if I was dying, right? If I was on my deathbed and only one of my kids, I had twins for some reason, one of my kids showed up, I'd be like, hey, tell your brother I love him. Hey, tell your brother about this, or, you know, brother that, brother this. Just something about Harald. I just feel like Harald gets no love. And not even just from Harald, but from the fan base. You know, people generally do not like Harald whatsoever. You know, people talk about Loki 24/7. Nobody ever says anything positive about Harald. And don't get me wrong, I'm not a Harald fan. I'm not a Harald defender. I'm just like, dang, dude. Hopefully he gets something, man. I hope Harald does get a power-up. You know, something to put him near the level of Loki at least. You know, just something, man. He just can't keep on getting bullied. This says, the Gigigi no Kita reference got me thinking that Ragnar is similar to Emmett. In that way, they are childlike allies of Joy Boy, as the Gigigi reference is due to the author of Gigigi mispronouncing his name as a child and became his nickname, and thus it's child speech. And we know from Sandman, Emmett also spoke with child speech, which connects them to Joy Boy, and Emu as Emu has his own childish undertones going on. Yeah, I like this. And the thing is that if it is a sentient hammer or a hammer that ate a devil fruit, I don't think they would die. I think they would survive the ravages of time itself, right? Because it's not like a human where it's like, oh, you know, this human over here, he's dying in 150 years if you're Koreha level. No, the hammer could have been from the Void Century. Maybe it was passed down. Maybe Joy Boy wielded it, or maybe somebody on Joy Boy's crew wielded it. There's a lot of ways you could make the hammer coming from the Void Century make sense. One thing that's interesting though, and I might talk about this more in depth later, but when it comes to the Elbaf mural, the giant that should be representative of Loki, the giant one that's next to Sun God Nika and Shirahoshi, he doesn't have a hammer in the mural. He has a spear. So it's like, wait a minute, like, will Loki actually lose Ragnir? Somehow, some way? Does Ragnir transform into a spear? Or is the left side of the mural simply depicting the Void Century, which, you know, that's a heavily debated one. Is the left side Void Century? Is that current day? I think it could fit for both because we have similar characters. But either way, I thought that was quite fascinating. King Harald, oopsie poopsie, as they say. Yeah. Guys, I made a whoopsie-daisy trusting Emu. My bad, y'all. My bad. Imagine that. Imagine if Harald had, like, I don't even know what you'd call that, like baby lingo? Yeah, just baby lingo. Oh, guys. As they say, I pooped my diapers and I now must sleep in it. Yikes, Harald, yikes. I don't think he'd have any defenders at that point. This says, it makes so much sense for the Rider Pirates and Shanks to have had their time skip. They're supposed to be the most balanced crew after all. Yeah, that's such a funny line, huh? Like, Shanks and his crew are the most balanced Yonko crew. And that's probably just because, you know, they don't have a lot of members like the Beast Pirates or the Big Mom Pirates. Yeah, Shanks has a lot of allies who are very weak, but at the core, it's kind of like Luffy's group where it's just like 10 guys and a ship. I don't think Ragnir has a devil fruit. I think it has a different devil fruit. Oh, Elbaf. Okay, whoa. He doesn't have the devil fruit. I think it has a different devil fruit. Or it could be some homie made by Mother Carmel years ago. Yep. That is very possible. And hopefully, you know, whether it has the Elbaf fruit or not, I do just wish that Oda told us how inanimate objects eat fruits at all. You know, because that is a big thing that we do not know about yet. Like, does the hammer simply hit a fruit and then boom, it's one and the same? Does the fruit have to eat the hammer or does it get absorbed? There's so many questions about this, man. Like, how does that work, Vegapunk? How does it work? Hired and Stocks are in the mud after this one, fellas. Exactly. Yeah, Hired and Stocks, man, they're not looking good. They've never looked good. I mean, I'm in Dressrosa right now in the anime. I'm rewatching it again for like the 4th, 5th time, and I just got to the part where Hired got one shot by Gear Second no Gomu Gomu no Mi Luffy. Remember that. Luffy, during the tournament, could not use the Gomu Gomu no Mi, or didn't want to, because he didn't want to give away who he was. So he really just went up to Hired. Boom! Hired's done. That's the King of the Giants. He needs a power-up. I really hope the stocks get better. So now, the last few comments. Perhaps the mysterious voice is that of the owl, as it guards ancient things. I wouldn't mind that. I do have high hopes for the owl. You know, going back up to that one comment saying, oh, you know, maybe it's a Joy Boy Nakama thing. I think the owl could have been a Joy Boy Nakama. I mean, when it comes to Joy Boy, he's had very strange allies. He has a giant robot, a giant elephant. So yeah, if he had a giant owl, hey, it would make sense, brother. As far as the owl protecting the items in the treasure room, that's a tough one because to our knowledge, the owl doesn't leave the library. So I'm not too sure about that. But either way, owl, very important in my opinion. Last one. I think that Ragnir is separate from the Legendary Elbaph Fruit. Otherwise, why else would there be Seastone binding him to the tree? Stop him, not the hammer. Unless the chains were normal, just a restraint. I don't remember. He had Seastone on him. But another thing, too, is that the hammer was also behind him while he was chained up. So the hammer also was touching the sea stone. So, yeah, there's a lot of things about that. And plus, when it comes down to the translations, some translations, Loki says that the sea stone is sapping his strength. And then sometimes through the Viz translations or other ones, they're like, oh, like, you really think this sea stone will stop me? Do you think it really is holding back the true extent of my power? Which I was like, okay, that one's a little bit more open for interpretations. But yeah. That is it for today, guys. Let me know what you thought about all these comments down below. How do you feel about the chapter now that a couple days have passed? I would love to hear all of your thoughts down there. And of course, in the next couple of days, probably just tomorrow, we will be back with the prediction video for chapter 1170. Because we don't know when it's going to drop. Next week should be a break week, but it's a magazine break week. And usually whenever that happens, we still get spoilers in the chapter, but that's kind of up in the air. Next week is Christmas, so that would be a pretty cool Christmas present, but also it's like, dang, chapter during Christmas, huh? Either way, make sure to drop your predictions down there, and we will be back sooner rather than later. Peace out, and stay safe, brothers.